Maggie had worked the night shift at Fairview Office Tower for over 20 years. She was the last person to see the building before it went asleep, and the first to greet it when the morning crew arrived. It was lonely work, but she liked the quiet. People always underestimated the importance of a good cleaning. She followed the same routine every night. Start at the top, work her way down. There was something satisfying about the way her mop erased the footprints of people who spent their days rushing from one meeting to another, never noticing the woman who made sure their world stayed clean. But lately something felt wrong. It started small. A trash can knocked over when she swore she hadn't touched it. The sound of a chair scraping against the floor when she was alone. Elevator doors opening and closing, even though no one was there. She told herself it was her imagination, a trick of exhaustion, maybe even the old building settling. But then, the footprints. She had just finished mopping the 14th floor hallway when she saw them. Wet, bare footprints leading from the conference room to the elevators. Her stomach clenched. No one was supposed to be here. The office had been empty for hours. She turned, mop clutched in her hand like a weapon, and called out, "Hello? Security's gonna be real pissed if you're sneaking around." Silence. She followed the footprints, her heart hammering. They led to the conference room. The door was slightly open. She reached for it, hesitated, then pushed it open. The room was empty. No one. No wet floors. No footprints. Like they had never been there. Maggie swallowed hard and backed away. She was too old for this nonsense. If someone was messing with her, let them. She had work to do. She took the service elevator down to the 12th floor. As she wheeled her cart out, something made her stop. The office cubicles stretched into darkness. Only a few emergency lights casting pale pools of yellow across the floor. Everything looked normal, except a phone was off the hook. She could hear the dial tone, a low, droning sound that set her teeth on edge. She walked over and placed the receiver back in place. The moment she did, every phone on the floor started ringing. All at once. Loud. Shrill. The kind of ringing that felt like it was coming from inside her skull. Maggie stumbled back, heart pounding. The ringing continued for several seconds, echoing off the walls, then stopped. Silence. And then one phone picked up. Somewhere deep in the office, through the rows of empty cubicles, she heard a faint, wet breathing. Slow. Shuddering. Someone was listening. She ran. Down the hall. Past the copy machines, through the break room. The service elevator was too far. The stairwell was closer. She yanked open the door and practically threw herself inside. The moment the door slammed shut, she heard footsteps in the hallway behind her. Not running. Not rushing. Following. She turned and looked down the stairwell. Dim emergency lights flickered, stretching the shadows long and thin. And then movement. 3 flights below, someone stepped into view. Not walking up the stairs. Standing on the wall. Their body was pressed against the concrete as if gravity meant nothing to them. Their head was tilted too far to one side, arms limp, feet bare. And they were watching her. Maggie's breath came in short, shallow gasps. Her legs felt like stone. The figure moved, not walking, not crawling, shifting. A blur of wrong angles and silent, unnatural speed. Maggie ran. Up. Toward the roof. Toward anywhere but here. The footsteps behind her were impossible. They echoed from all around. Above her, below her, beside her. She burst through the rooftop door and into the cold night air. The city stretched below, quiet, asleep, unaware. She slammed the door behind her, locked it. And then a whisper, right next to her ear. "Not clean enough." Maggie screamed. She stumbled backward, her hands trembling as she turned in circles, scanning the empty rooftop. No one was there. The door behind her was still locked. She pressed a hand to her chest, willing her heartbeat to slow. Just her imagination. Just exhaustion. She would go downstairs. Finish her shift. Forget this ever happened. She turned to open the door and saw the wet footprints leading into the stairwell. From the other side. And the door? The lock was broken. The bolt had been twisted apart. Like someone or something had forced its way through. And then, deep in the stairwell, she heard it again. That slow, wet breathing. Closer this time. Coming up the stairs. Maggie stepped back, her body shaking, her mind racing. She could run. She could fight. But deep down, she knew the truth. She had worked the night shift for 20 years. She had always felt something watching, something waiting. And tonight, it had finally found her.